Hello, everyone. Welcome to this fourth session of Multiple Universes. I'm James Barbieri, Associate Program Director of the Pari Center, and I'll be your host for today. And as a host, any problem, technical or not, feel free to just drop me a message in the chat. Before I begin, I'd just like to do a very quickly reminder of all the rules for this call. First of all, if you could please mute your microphone during the presentation and Q&A just to ensure good quality audio. But at the same time, please do turn on your camera if it makes you feel comfortable. During this session, we will be using the chat. So the chat box can be found at the bottom right of your screen, or just by pressing the chat button at the bottom of your screen. And from there, you can communicate with everyone. And during Q&A, we'll be having an interaction at the last part of this session. So if you could please use the raise your hand function or physically raise your hand or write your question in the chat, we can interact with you all. And then finally, this session is recorded for archival purposes and for you all. In about 3 days' time, you will find the recording on Vimeo and we will send you the link. So yes, now we can start. Today we have a very special session with Jean-Francois Vezina. Jean-Francois is a clinical psychologist in Quebec and author of 6 books, including Necessary Chances, Synchronicity, and Encounters That Transform Us. He was the president of the Jungian Society of Quebec for about 7 years, and he was animator and producer of the radio show Projections, Psychology and Cinema. And it was a book about symbols and movies. And this past year, Jean-Francois has been hosting a podcast called the Cercle Jung de Kenyon Day at the Hilbert Hotel, a space where he's been exploring multiple universes. And maybe Jean-Francois can tell you a bit more about that later. Today, Jean-Francois will be talking about May the Force Be Between Us, exploring our multiverse with the help of Star Wars and others. And with that, I'll pass it over to you, Jean-Francois. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, James. And thank you, Paris Center, for creating this event today. It's a very special day for me. 20 years I have published Necessary Chances in 2021. So this is a very special day for me. So thank you very, very much. I would like to begin this event with a quote that I discovered recently that inspire me a lot, and that quote will give the tone, the tonality of the event for today. So James, if you can pass me the screen.
Yes, you're able to share now.
Okay. So is everyone see the universe now?
Yeah.
Good. So there is the quote. We are the bees of the invisible. We widely collect the honey of the visible to store it in the great golden hive of the invisible. Rainer Maria Rilke. Welcome to this event, ladies and gentlemen. May the force be with us. May the force be between us. What I would like to do today with you is to try to travel, but travel in symbolic way. What I would like to do is to travel into the bubble universe of Star Wars. That will be the first bubble universe movie we will explore. But I want to create an event that we can share together some ideas about what is to travel. I like the ideas that to travel for the consciousness is to transpose, it's to superpose. So I would like to create a space now that we can be able to travel into the world of ideas. So what I would like to do is when I will talk, I will open the chat room. Oh, hello from Hawaii. Hi. I would like to use this chat room so you will be able to send some photons, some ideas about my talk. So I'll try to stimulate an encounter that we can share ideas. So you can be free to share some photons, some ideas into the chat room. Today, I explore new material. When I chose the Star Wars universe, I wanted to explore some new ideas that I am exploring now, particularly the idea of synphonicity. What is synphonicity? Synphonicity is a junction point between synchronicity and individuation. And so what I like in these ideas is try to make a connection between the synchronicity principle and the individuation process. And I'm curious about, is it possible to be like a team of bees and try to create space and create a little tribe on the individuation? Because what I found sometime in the individuation process, it's sometimes too individual. It's not connected to the collective. So that's why I chose these ideas of synphonicity. Sorry, I have a little inviter in my throat. I will take some water. I hope it's not the COVID, but I have my 2 vaccines. That's okay. So synphonicity is like being connected with the big beat. What we call the big beat, the ancestor of Tequenonde. I live near a forest called Tequenonde. Tequenonde is an Algonquin name that refers to the other side of the mountain. And we have a trace in Tequenonde that we have people that live there from 10,000 years. We have a presence of human there from 10,000 years. And one idea that came with those ancestors is that there's not only one big bang, but there's always big beat. There's big beat every time. So there's not only one big bang, but there's big beat. And the idea is to be connected to your own beat, to be connected with your own time, with your own music. And we can see the synchronicity as a way to resynchronize with your soul or the music of your soul. And so when we fall into a gravity field, when we fall into a society, a place, a planet, we share our time or our music with the gravity field surrounded. And sometimes our music can be desynchronized, and so we can be offbeat of our own beat. So that's how synchronicity occurs. What I have observed in maybe 20 years studying synchronicity, particularly the synchronistic encounter. It's a synchronistic encounter that resynchronize with yourself. It can be sometimes very chaotic. I don't know if you had some synchronistic encounter during the COVID, but during chaos, there's a lot of synchronicity when you are in chaos, and particularly in state of COVID. But the idea I want to explore here is being curious about the encounter that resynchronize with us, but also resynchronize with our planet and the beat of our planet. I have loved yesterday the talk when they talk about the vibration of the heart, and so to be in sync with that. So this is the whole idea of the synphonicity, is to be in contact with your own beat, your own music, but also on the beat and the music of the planet. So that's the introduction. So talking about traveling and superpose, we will have this archetype, Ben and Ray. They are very important in Star Wars because they create a dance of the opposite that was very inspiring. I will talk about the meeting of Ben and Ray as what Jung called a hieros gamos, an encounter with the opposite that make a new make a new integration of the opposite. But before, what I would like to do is to travel, but travel in the sense of going into a symbolic space. So we're traveling into the space-time of Star Wars. We will also traveling into the space-time of arrival too. Arrival, a movie by Denis Villeneuve too. So we will dig into that too. So what I would like to do is to travel into that space and, like bees, excerpt some ideas. What I want to do is to try to go into this archetypal field to excerpt some ideas that can help us understand more what is to be in our universe and to be in the individuation process. What I would like to do with this event today is I would like to be more curious about what will be or what are the new language that will help us understand our universe. Because as it said in Denis Villeneuve movie Arrival, great encounter give always the gift of a new language. And so we will try to be curious about this new language that we try to create. That's why I like to use some new words like synphonicity, for example, is creating a new world to point a junction between two ideas. But synphonicity is not new for me. I don't know if you have seen the CD by Sting, Symphonicity. So then the name came from the CD of Sting. Okay, let's dig into, just before going into the Star Wars universe, what is a universe? And then you can shoot photon on the discussion room, the chat room. What is a universe? Does someone want to send information into the chat room? What is a universe?
Yeah, feel free to use the chat in this.
Feel free to use the chat to send photon. And so let's return to the basic question. What is a universe? There's no good and bad answer. One person reality of many. Evolution. Okay. One person reality of many. Okay. A container for exploration and evolution. A container. A construct. A world connecting all of us. A field. Nice. Okay. We will talk about the archetypal field of Star Wars. The Force is the archetypal field of Star Wars. We'll talk about that. A cluster of stars and planets that travel together. Oh, nice. A universe is a cluster of stars and planets that travel together. I love that idea. Okay. Feel free to send information. I went to the Wikipedia, and what Wikipedia said, it's universe is the totality of what exists, governed by a certain number of laws. We will start with that definition. A universe is the totality of what exists, governed by a certain number of laws. I will begin with that, and I will enter into a version of that. I will give you a simple definition that we'll use to travel to the bubble universe of Star Wars. A universe is a game between two starting points. A universe is a game between two starting points. It can be a starting point in time, it can be a starting point in space, but a universe is a game between two starting points. And you see in the eyes of, listen, this is baby Yoda, Grogu, baby Yoda. If we want to translate that, and what I would like to do together is try to translate some ideas into other space. So to travel is to translate, to travel is to transpose. Let's transpose these ideas into our own eyes. So a universe is a game between two starting points. And I will propose something that is very present in Star Wars. You see that the motion between the two points. In Star Wars, this is very important, the eyes. This is all the eyes of the character of Star Wars, or most of the character of Star Wars. And we can translate that into this idea that I have an eye that catch the light, and I have eyes that send the light. The light is very important in Star Wars. How the light travel in Star Wars, it travel into the way they look on each other. So I propose this idea that a universe is a game between two starting points, and those starting points are in our eyes. I have eyes that send information, send light, and I have eyes that catch energy and light. And we see that in the eyes in Star Wars, very important, particularly by the character of C-3PO. C-3PO maybe is the most is the most important character in Star Wars. Why? Because C-3PO is the guy who translates. So it's a translator. So he translates all the stories of all the character. So C-3PO is very important. You have the gold. So you see as gold because he tells story. And Star Wars is a story. He tells the story of Star Wars. And in the episode 9, he had to clean his eyes to search for Palpatine. So he had to clear his eyes, or not to clean, but to reboot his way to see. And then he was able to find Palpatine, because Palpatine, we'll talk in a little bit, is maybe like a kind of a dark matter in Star Wars. So it's everywhere, but we don't see it. Yeah, but Palpatine is very important. So let's explore how the light travel in Star Wars, but in our game, by asking the question, what is an archetype? Have you ever seen an archetype? Is someone have ever seen an archetype? What is an archetype? Image I have experienced in this group of talk make me realize my body is continent universe, participating with various fields. Exactly, that's what I want to go. Archetype live in a field, the field of the archetype, the archetypal field. We don't see an archetype. So this is a very difficult concept of Jung, because we cannot see an archetype. We see an archetype like a flower. We see the symbol, we see the visible aspect, but we cannot see an archetype. So we have access to the archetype with the body, with the synchronistic encounter, with dreams, and with the great mythology of cinema. Cinema is one of the great containers of the archetype. But what's interesting about the archetype is archetype don't travel. When you experience a synchronicity, we are connected outside space of time. So archetype don't travel. Archetype superpose, archetype transpose, archetype emerge from the unconscious. And so it can emerge from everywhere, every time. But when you are in contact with an archetype, you don't see an archetype, but you feel it in your body. You have an experience of the archetype. And that's what I would like to try with Star Wars. There's a question, do we mostly feel an archetype? It's not always we feel it, but we can access to the archetype with the thinking function, with the intuition function, with other function. But how the archetype transform, because the archetype transform our life, it's mostly when you're in contact with the body, when you are in contact with the emotion, because we can say that the archetypal field is like an emotion. It's like traveling in emotion. So emotion can be connected to the archetypal field. So I explored these ideas. But so look at the emotion. But what is an emotion? An emotion is information. Emotion is information that give you information on the state of your needs. Fear, for instance, I have access to the information of fear that give me the information of my need for security. So when I need security, fear vibrate and tell me that I'm not in security. And if you are in a dictatorship system, I define a dictator as someone not able to be in contact with the fear, but able to spread fear all everywhere. Like Palpatine. Palpatine is a kind of a dictator. Palpatine work on the field of fear. So we have access to the archetype with the energy field of the emotion. But if we want to give a kind of description of a definition, of an archetype is an universal question expressed in an infinite symbolic form in nature and psyche. So I would like to translate or transform the idea of an archetype as a great question. Is a great question, universal question. For Jung, those questions, and Jung worked with Pauli, those questions can be symbolized in mathematic form, but can be symbolized also in nature and symbolic form. So let's try to explore the archetypal field as a question. First is a question that is expressed in an infinite symbolic forms in nature and psyche. So now we arrive at the force. What is the force in Star Wars? For those who have seen the movie, what is the force in Star Wars, and what archetype is behind the force in Star Wars? So we can use the chat room. What is the force in Star Wars? Love. Have you seen Interstellar? The one who said love? For Interstellar, love and the gravity field is the same. And by the way, the guy who play on Dune, the guy who play Dune play in Interstellars, for those who are. The force is collective unconscious, right? Universal consciousness. The force is energy that impact the whole universe in terms of whole, whoops, too fast, fastly due to the dark side of the force. Energy, vibration, frequency, and rhythm. Okay, so there's a Tesla fan here. You know, Tesla, what said about universe? Tesla said, if you want to understand universe, think of energy, frequency, vibration, and information. Oh, Jane said the magician. The force is the magician. Oh, nice. Yeah. The force is also the intention. Oh, Patricia, hello, Patricia. She's in the Albert Hotel with us. Intention. What is an intention? Is a tension inside of us. Intention. How this intention deploy into the world? I propose that the force is like the desire energy. And if you go to the root of the word desire, it came from the word seduce. Seduce meaning stars. So Star Wars is all about the expression of the energy of the desire or love. And it's related in some point to the star energy. So in Star Wars, you have the people that expand your universe. May the force be with you. And in Star Wars, you have the guy or the woman that want to contract the universe. Be the force be with me. And the force can be superposed in different level. So that's how I want to enter into the Star Wars energy and the energy field. let's look at the force as the desire energy. Desire energy, energy from the stars, then can go outside and can go inside, and get, this is the energy that is everywhere. Let's look at Jung, what Jung said about libido. Libido is the equivalent of the desire. I discovered yesterday when I was preparing this. So Jung said in Symbol of Transformation, we can say then that the concept of libido in psychology has functionally the same significance as the concept of energy in physics. So libido or desire the same as energy. And so how this energy deployed? This energy deployed in an archetypal field. And you see this, the archetypal field. This is the yin-yang. But what's interesting about yin-yang is the space between the yin-yang. And the Chinese had an expression called the shen. Shen is the space between the yin and yang. There's not only yin and yang, there's also a space between. And so this is the space between. So the force is an archetypal field. And a dance of opposite. You see this in Star Wars. Because in Star Wars, and I love what Carrie Fisher said about Star Wars. Star Wars is all about family. So family is creating people together, and the desire energy is behind that. But that's interesting to look at how you separate the world between the people that you see in your family and the people that you see in not your family. How you divide the world into the thing that you desire and the thing you are afraid of. So there's division point always in the energy of desire between what I want, what I fear, who I see in my team, who I see not in my team. And this is very present in the archetypal field of Star Wars. This is expressed by the Jedi and the Sith. The Jedi and the Sith, they are the main opposite in Star Wars. But if we want to try to return to the more fundamental question, so what an archetype is an universal question. What are the most fundamental division point of that energy in universe? Is it space-time, or there's more fundamental atomic or division point? An atom is a division point. So what is the most fundamental division point in the universe? Is it space-time? Or we can have a more primordial division point than space-time? Stability and change. Light particle, nice. So light and particle, that's a division point. Yeah, yeah. If we want to stay close to Star Wars, this space-time opposite vacuum point, what's Star Wars express about the space-time paradox is there's people that accept natural change and there are people that don't accept natural change. So they want to have unnatural change. Because Star Wars is also about the relation with technology, how the technology impact the transformation of energy or the transformation in our society. So we can say that also that there's people that are open to natural change of time, and there are people that are afraid of natural change and want always resist to change. Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, is allergic to change. When he learned that his woman will die, he meet Palpatine, and Palpatine said, hey, I have a trick for you. You will be able to not going into the process of the dying process. So space-time can be seen as change and stability. And those points in the universe, for Palpatine, for example, Palpatine it's Darth Sidious. This is interesting because the character of Palpatine, Darth Sidious, Sidious star, Darth star. So for Darth Sidious, there's absolute point in universe. There's some point that are absolute in universe, and he live in the absolute. For the Jedi, the changing point are always relative. And here we have a vision that for the Jedi is more like Carlo Rovelli. Carlo Rovelli said it's a relational, that the fundamental of the, there's no thing at the fundament of universe. This is always relation and event. So the Jedi at night time are like more like Rovelli. So we have to explore that too. In our life, do we live in absolute point that there's absolute and we can make a lot of Star Wars into the absolute point of change, or the change are relative to our point of view. So another point of division, masculine, feminine, for Jung is the animus and the anima. We have that in the Star Wars, particularly the episode 7 and 9, we have that, the integration of the animus of the anima. Ego and the self. Do you live your life with the ego as a center of gravity, or the self as a center of gravity? Because if you are in the ego state of gravity, you will suffer a lot of the transformation of the self and transformation of the life. And for Jung, the individuation process is passing from an ego gravity center to a more universal gravity center called the self. Another point of division in the dynamic of the archetype, it's persona and shadow. Persona is the outside world. It's the persona is a mask, and the mask is very important in Star Wars. What was the mask for the Greek? The mask was the tool to let your voice spread into the theater. So that's one of the aspects of the persona. How you carry the voice in the space-time, how you send your voice outside of you. This is the function of the persona. I am a psychologist, I am an artist. So it's a kind of a mask that send your vibe into the world. If you're too close of your persona, you identify with your mask, you have problem. So you have to play with the mask. You have the problem with the shadow part, because the opposite of what you express in the world is the shadow part. And now we can open a breach into the multiple universe, is when I express myself with my persona in a way, does something exist also in the shadow? Does an alternate self is created on the shadow part of me? That's a question. I raise a question here. We can have maybe occasion to explore that. But the idea of persona, the outside world and the internal world, it's an archetype too. And then the archetype for Jung are always dynamics. It's not one archetype, it's a dynamic between both, between two. One of the most opposite, very important opposite in Star Wars is the opposite between love and power. For Jung, the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is power. And it's translated with this. Jung said that an unconscious eros, libido, desire, force, an unconscious eros always expresses itself as a will to power. And there you have the pattern of two heroes. You have Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker, he loved the girl until he wanted the power. So Anakin Skywalker, he became Darth Vader because he loved a woman, and he was not able to let the love change into the time. But what's interesting is Anakin Skywalker is the main character of the Skywalker family. He wanted to love a woman, but he fell into the gravity field of Palpatine and a system of fear of loss that transforming him into a machine. And this is so true about our society. If you want to dig into this archetype, is when I don't accept change, do I go into the technology to help me not deal with the necessary change, necessary chance and necessary change of my life? Because I can become a machine. And this is Darth Vader. On the other side, we have Ben Solo, Kylo Ren. He wanted the power. His idol was Darth Vader. He was fascinating by the mask of Anakin Skywalker. So he wanted the power of the mask of Anakin. So he wanted the power until he loved the girl. And so he created an inversion. He wanted power, and then he discovered the field of love, the gravity field of love, and then he transformed himself. And we will see in the at the end of the Stargate, Ben and Rey incarnate the symbol of the Hieros Gamos, the reconciliation between masculine and feminine, that is so important in our life. So let's transform this into our life, because that's what I want to do with you today. We have this archetype fulfillment in my life. Do I search when I am in contact of something I will lose? How I react? So that's what's inspiring about Star Wars. It gives us the opportunity to understand that if I want more power, I want more power. Desire for power is the loss of love. Because one opposite also is desire and fear. So desires maybe is related to the expansion of the universe, and fear is related to the protection or the contraction of the universe. Translating my universe is a game between starting point, my life. So the dance between desire and fear, that's what makes life a creative life. To be able to dance with the desire energy and the fear energy that inform me that I have to protect something. But if it's only my ego that I have to protect, I have problem. Okay. So let's look at 3 levels of the force. So the force of expansion, the force of contraction, and the force of superposition. In English, you said entanglement, I think. So 3 levels of the force. And now I will use, I have created this last week. I hope it will work. It's what I call a gravity field detector, a gravity field archetype detector that we will be able to use on Star Wars. So there's a premiere on the Paris Center, the gravity archetypal field radar detector. There's a bug on my computer. Okay, let's explore how we can dig into the archetypal field with these 3 levels, the attraction, the expansion, and the contraction. So let's try to explore the Star Wars universe now with this archetypal field radar detector. First aspect is the question quest, or the quantum question. What is the most important question in the Star Wars universe? The second aspect is what I call a PP. It's not a I know in English PP, it's not okay. PP, it's what is the prime principle in the universe of Star Wars? So what is the question quest? What's the important question of the movie or the universe? What is the primordial point? And the third aspect is what is the creative challenge? What are the challenge in the universe of Star Wars that can inspire us in our own life? So QQ, PP, CC, and OR. And OR is what we can say is what new information I can grab, like I am a bee and I go into the Star Wars flower universe, what information I can grab into that. And so we will apply that into the Star Wars universe, into the Arrival universe too, and at the end of our talk too. So let's try to explore that. So what is a QQ? Question quest. It can be an algebraic, I'm not a mathematician, but it can be a mathematician, can be a mathematical question. How you can translate the mathematical initial question of Star Wars? Like the force, for example. You can try to make a formula on the force of Star Wars. But you can ask also the more fundamental question, how you deal with the love energy in your life, for example. And then the PP is a prime principle. What are the prime principle of the energy of love in your life and in Star Wars? One of prime principle in Star Wars is when you are in a state of fear, you want to possess thing, and you are possessed by thing. So if you don't check your level of fear energy, you will lose the love energy. So this is a prime principle of Star Wars. When you are in a fear state, all things transform into an object, and you want to catch the object. You want to control things. And it's the same in our life. That's a prime principle in our life. When I am in the fear state, everything goes heavier. They became things that I want to possess. So this is the PP. Creative challenge. What are the creative challenge that we find in the Star Wars universe? You see this little wall. Let's imagine it's the plank wall. What's in the other side of the plank wall? Here you have a man. You can the thing he wants, he desire. So this the desire energy. He wants something, and he encounter an obstacle. This is the structure of our story, not only Star Wars, that give creative challenge. So imagine that now I am a man, I want to do a good presentation. I have a desire, I want to do a good presentation, but there's a wall. I see a wall of face. I see, so there's matter between you and me. So this matter vibrate. And so I have to adjust my desire to do a good presentation with your energy, with the energy of reality. So this is the essence of a creative challenge. And that's why the story of Star Wars, but a lot of stories so inspire us. They give us energy by the music created by the person or the heroes that confront obstacles in the search for our desire, for their desires. That's why we love movies. That's why we love stories. It inspires us when we encounter matter, when we encounter obstacle. It gives you, okay, I can do something to reach my stars or to go into my stars. But this is the structure of our stories, not only Star Wars. And the ore. The ore is a free category in search of the archetype. It's a source of honey, or it's a source of information. So, for example, me looking at Star Wars, it gives me the courage to love in a more integrative way, for example. So I dig into Star Wars universe, and I have the energy to try to love more in a more open state than a closed state when I am in a fear state. So this is the archetype radar detector new. So we can adjust something, but that's with. We will use that into the Star Wars universe, and we will dig into Star Wars universe. I see the time is going fast, but let's dig into the Star Wars universe. So there's a resume of the QQ, PP, CC, and OR, the radar detector in the Star Wars bubble field. Okay, let's enter especially into the 9 movie of Star Wars. So I divide the 3 movie with the 3 level I've said yesterday. Not yesterday, later, before. The first trilogy that hit our screen into 1999, and that's what I want to do is, when a movie hit the screen or hit the retina of your retina, it also hit the society. What's interesting about May the Force with me is the trilogy of Anakin Skywalker, who discovered the energy of the force of love and the technology, and he get lost. And we had that into 1999. And 1999 on Earth, in our own universe, we were afraid of the bug of 2000, you remember? So there's an echo of what was going on into a society. May the force be with you. It's another level of exploration of the Star Wars universe, and it's all about the path of Anakin Skywalker, not Anakin, Luke Skywalker. This path was very studied by Joseph Campbell, the Joseph Campbell we know of. And the last one, May the Force be with us. I call it May the Force be with us or among us. This series came from 2015, 2019. And in 2019, on Earth, we had to deal with the beginning of the COVID problem. So I find interesting that, well, in that series, you have the rise of Palpatine. And in our society, in our planet, we had to deal with a new kind of virus that we have no idea how we will deal with that. It was the same with Palpatine archetype. So let's dig into that. Let's return to the beginning of Star Wars. So Star Wars was the May the Force be with me, 1999, 2005. The characters that are very important, and that is Anakin and Padme and C-3PO, because C-3PO was created by Anakin in the space between his love with Padme. So I find it very interesting because this can be seen as a synchronistic encounter. So Anakin encounter love as Padme, but he will be afraid of losing her. And then he creates a robot called C-3PO, and C-3PO will be present in all the Star Wars. Like the great translator, he translates the symbolic aspect or the symbolic energy. But if I have in my book, Necessary Chances, I have studied the synchronistic encounter that transform us. But we have also kind of synchronistic encounter that deform us. And so at that time, Anakin met also Palpatine, Darth Sidious. And he will be trapped into the energy of Palpatine. Palpatine is everywhere in the series, but we don't see it everywhere. But this is a kind of dark energy in Star Wars, and he led Anakin to the path of the Sith. And what is the main, if we want to dig into that, okay, what is the most important question? Let's return to our archetypal field detector. What is the question quest? What is the most important, the most important question? What is love? What is the most important principle, prime principle? If I transform what I encounter into an object, I will have problem. So this is a prime principle applied for all of our life. When I am in a relation with a people, a woman or a man, when I transform what I encounter into an object, I have a gravity problem. In French, we say a grave problem, because I will be trapped by fear, and I will be in state of always fear of loss. So this is a prime principle in the Star Wars. Fear led you to the dark side of the Force because it transformed everything in object. Palpatine is not able to see people as they are. He always see people as a tool to obtain something other. And translated in your life, you have this kind of energy in your life. Sometimes you meet people that transform everything you in an object. And what's interesting is when we look at the gravity emotional feel of the character is Anakin was a slave. At the first time, Anakin was a slave. So when he entered the energy of Palpatine, he became a slave. He became a slave of the energy of fear of Palpatine. And in that way, if we want to dig more into the question quest or the quantum question of the Palpatine aspect, Palpatine is like a virus. A virus always needs someone to clone himself. He cannot live by himself. He always needs other as an object to clone himself. And the attack of the clone and all this, we have this in this this part of the Star Wars universe. So, question quest: what is love? Primordial principle. How I deal with the fear of loss. So the fear of loss transforms everything into an object. And then creative challenge. We have a creative challenge. We see Padme, we see Anakin, and then he will meet the instructor Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he will have a challenge. And that's very strange because when Obi-Wan is the master of Anakin, and Anakin said, "You're with me or you're against me." That's a phrase that we have learned from a certain president. I think that was George Bush at that time that said that. You're with me or against me. So in the creative challenge will be, do I stay in a state of integrity with my principle, or do I go into the dark side of the force? And then here, Anakin chose the dark side of the force, and after that, he became a machine. So that was for the first trilogy stopped when Anakin became a machine. And we have to dig into our society. Do our society become more into a machine state, or we stay in connection with the soul, with the energy of the transformation, natural transformation? So that's also a question quest that we have for our society. And then we will go into the starting point. When I said that a universe is a game created by two starting points, the real starting point of Star Wars occurs on 1977, and it occurs on episode 4. So the starting point is 4. I will not go into too much that, but I love this idea of the 4 as a 1. Jung studied the symbolic aspect of the number, and the 4th can be seen as a 1, a new 1. And so the title of the first episode is A New Hope in episode 4. And then we will have also, let's use our radar detector field. What is the question of Luke Skywalker? And then I can return to the chat room. What is the question quest of Luke Skywalker and the first Star Wars trilogy? What is the most important desire of Luke? Luke was a kind of love, but Luke is different between Luke and Anakin. Anakin met a woman, but Luke met 2 droids. Oh, who am I? Good question. Escape. But the first encounter of Anakin is 2 droids, and I'm thinking about that now. I never think about this, but it's a direct continuation between the episode 3. So I meet 2 droids, C-3PO and R2-D2, and they hide an anima, a princess, into that. And yes, Anakin, his first question is love, but before love, he wanted only to be a pilot, a star pilot, a pilot of star. We can translate it as he wants to pilot his energy desire. So the first desire of Luke Skywalker is, I want to be a good pilot. That's what I want. And then 2 droids arrive in his life, and he lost his parents. It's not a real parent, it's an adoptive parent. So he's in confrontation with a question quest. What I will do? I have lost everything. What I will do? And then that's the heroic process. Joseph Campbell described it very well. The heroes as an invitation to a greater quest than himself. First, he refused it, and then he have the help of a magician. He have the help of others. He had to master his skill. He have to confront the shadow, and then you have to re-enter into the cycle in a new way. So this is the heroic process, but on a solo level, not on a collective level. And this is very interesting, but now we need more collective heroic tribe quest, not only single quest. But this was the quest of Luke. I want to be a star pilot. And then I had to find a little woman hidden in the droids. So, and Princess Leia, and Princess Leia was his sister. So he had to go into to find his sister. Where was his sister?
Disturbance in the force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. I fear something terrible has happened.
So Luke is in a training mode. So he is training, he trained the force energy. And what's interesting in this, it's like a kind of a creative challenge for him to master the force energy. He's training with a little sphere that shoots laser. And then there's a bigger sphere that shoots laser on planet. So this is a very nice superposition, because he learned to master the force for himself, but at the same time, there's a big sphere that menaces planet outside of him. So there's a connection between his mission, the creative challenge of Luke, and the creative collective challenge. If I don't master my desire energy, I will lose my planet. And he is in the family of the people from the earth. Us too, if we don't learn to master the desire energy, we will destroy our planet. So that's very, very interesting. It's a kind of a pivotal point, because we can see the prime principle as a way to discover the pivotal point. This is a very important pivotal point in the life of Luke. And then after that, Obi-Wan, his master, will die, so he will accept the transformation, natural transformation of dying. Instead of his father want to make a deal with Palpatine because he don't want life change, he accepts life change. And at the end, what he will do with the planet killer? I have a bug with my computer. Okay, so he had to disconnect with his computer to discover, but he had to disconnect from his computer to shoot a photon inside the dark stars. But if we explore it in a more symbolic way, it's not him who shoot the star. He catch the photon from the star. And I related that with James, with what we have done with the Tenet movie. You are not shooting the bullet, you are catching the bullet. And so this is the Star Wars force, is you are feeling the planet you're on. And so you disconnect your computer and you're in contact with the greater totality that help you reach the star, the center of the dark star, because you are able to inverse the time. So we can see that as a way to go outside of time. And then he showed the artificial planet. That's very interesting. And sorry, my computer don't match. Another pivotal point of Star Wars, when we discover Palpatine for the first time in Star Wars.
What are you afraid of?
Afraid?
You're trembling.
I'm not trembling.
Like me because I was.
every ship available to sweep the asteroid field until they are found.
Lord Vader,
Yes, Admiral, what is it?
the Emperor commands you to make contact with you.
Move the ship out of the asteroid field so that we can send a clear transmission.
Yes, Lord.
What is thy bidding, my master?
There is a great disturbance in the Force.
I have felt it.
Whoops, it's a loop in time. Sorry. I felt a great disturbance in the Force. Talking about synphonicity or sequence of event, because what I am interested in the aspect of synchronicity, or when an archetype is awakened, is not always on a simultaneity of time, because time don't exist on the psyche. It's the sequence of time that create meaning. And there you have a very interesting sequence of event. Two people fall in love, they are working on a coupling power principle, and then you have Palpatine who appears. And it's the first time you see Palpatine and this time. So I felt something in the Force, a disturbance, a change in the intent. Yeah, that's very nice, Patricia. Yeah, there's a changing direction. We can say that, oh, Palpatine has created a universe that things are object, and I can control everything. I can control Anakin. Is a machine, is a puppet. So I can do everything I want with my puppet. So he created a universe, and then bang, a new universe is created, or a new line of time is created by love. Two people fall in love, Han Solo and Leia. And then there's a disturbance in the Force. So it's not only that he has felt that Luke Skywalker has raised, also Han Solo and Leia is a very important character in Star Wars. Han Solo is the lonely guy, the commerçant who won't do anything for money. So it's a kind of a slight Palpatine in that sense. He sees everything in thing of money, in thing of object. And then he fall in love. And when he fall in love, he discovered a new way to see things. And so Han Solo process is also interesting. He passed from a world that everything is an object and can be commerciable, and you can have a commerce, and then he changed. So it changed his path. He changed also his path not everywhere. He changed his path in the Cloud City. And Cloud City, the Empire Strikes Back, this episode was hitting our screen during the beginning of the computer age on our society. So that's interesting to make a link between that. In 1932 to 1933, I don't know if you remember, I had a Commodore 64, TRS 80. The first computer appears in our life in that time. So I feel a disturbance in the Force is also in our society. We were beginning to construct a cloud, a city in the cloud. That was the beginning of the internet at some point of time. So, and the first version of this talk, when I was in Paris, I was supposed to do that in Paris. I wanted to do that with the movie RPO, Ready Player One. I will shortcut on that. I will not go into Ready Player One. But if you want to explore more into the impact of the cloud city or the internet on the psyche, Ready Player One is a very nice movie. But in the Cloud City, there's something very important happens. First, Han Solo that discover love, he will be trapped in an ice cube. So the Cloud City is very interesting too. And it was also at that time that we have this event to into the Cloud City.
Not true. That's impossible. Search your feelings. You know it to be true. destiny. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son. Come with me. It is the only way.
Sorry for the time loop. So Universe is a game created between two starting points. Sorry for the loop. Okay. Now we have something very interesting about understand of Luke can be trapped into the gravity field of a father that became a machine. So he can also be the slave of Anakin, like Anakin was a slave of Palpatine. But instead of that, he chose to let him into another kind of gravity. So he dropped himself from this gravity field. So on the psychological, if we want to translate it in psychological term, everyone, we are trapped into a family gravity field, emotional gravity field. We repeat patterns, and we need courage to let go or to go outside of this gravity field of my parent, my father. And so he lost the connection with the gravity emotional field of his family of blood, because Anakin's a family of blood, to go into a family, what I call a family of sense, because he will be reached by Lando Calrissian. And Lando is a very important figure. First, Lando is the guy who put Han Solo into an ice cube. And so he betrayed his friend. But now he is in command of the Millennium Falcon. We will have a lot to do with the Millennium Falcon. But Luke dropped himself and say, I don't want this gravity field. I want another gravity field. And he go into the gravity field of Lando. And also his sister, Princess Leia, he is also his sister. So it needs a lot of courage. So a creative challenge, this is a creative challenge. This is a very big creative challenge. I can go with the pattern that I know, the gravity field, emotional field of my family, but I drop myself into the unknown. And then the unknown open new doors. So, and that finished because Luke was able to see, we return at the idea of the see, to how I look. I have an eye that give light. I have an eye that keep light. Luke has the ability to see the soul or the human inside his father. And that's conclude the series of the may the force be with you. I give you the force, my father, but at the end.
This mask off.
But you'll die.
Nothing can stop that now. Just for once, let me look on you with my own eyes.
Okay, so my excerpt stopped. That is not a loop. But now, Luke helped his father to see without a mask and without the fear of death. So he helped his father to accept natural change. And then all things change because he accepted the change. And so that concludes this series. Now, let's go into the 2015, whoops, sorry, 2015, 1019. I have a slip in time now. May the force be with us, or may the force be among us, the title of our event today. How, the question, let's retry the QQ, PP, CC, and OR. How we can reconcile the opposite. in a society that is so much divided now. The virus of the COVID divide us in a lot of way. And this series, in a kind of way, I've foreseen that with the virus, but also with the energy of Palpatine. The energy of the Palpatine is an energy of absolute division. So the question quest, or the quantum question, how we can reconciliate all our opposite in our life. For me, this is the great question of Star Wars, and particularly this new series, because we are in contact with an energy that divide, very, very, very strong energy of division in our society now, in our psyche, in our society. I translated that into the energy of Palpatine. And then you have the little children of Han Solo is Ben Solo. You have Ben Solo here. And the little girl of Palpatine, Rey Skywalker. So they will have to work together, or to play together, or to dance together, to mastering the Force. And this is a kind of a very primordial point in our society, in our life. How do we reconcile all the opposite? So those in the stream movie, they are invited to dance together. So the question quest is, how we will reconcile the opposite? The pivotal point and the primal principle is, we have a scene here, very interesting. So kill your true enemy. This is the creative challenge of Ben and Rey. What is the real enemy? And in that episode is symbolized by Snoke. But if we want to return into a psychological point, you kill the enemy when you reconcile all the opposite. You kill an enemy by being friend with him in some way, we said. So it needs a lot of courage now. The pivotal point in our life. Look in your life now. What are the most important pivotal points? Encounter with people that help us be more reconciliated with yourself. And this is a very difficult question. How I reconcile with myself and all my opposite. And so in the Star Wars universe, we have some honey, we have some flower to explore, to know how to reconcile the opposite. And this is related with what Carl Gustav Jung have called the Eros Gamos archetype. I have done something with the flickering reality, especially on the Eros Gamos. So if you want to dig more to Eros Gamos, it's an archetype very important to explore and to integrate in our society now. And so we'll finish with a scene that, for me, very interesting, that how, when the opposite reconcile between a man and a woman, there's a reflection of that on the collective level.
Friends, I'm sorry. I thought we had a shot. There's just too many of them.
But there are more of us, Poe. There are more of us.
And though you did it, I love this scene. There's more of us. And then I want to open a discussion with you. What is this us we are searching for? What is this team we search? How we can be more integrated in our universe, in our life? And I open the question, and I want to share with you before going into the arrival movie. So I ask you this question, and we can exchange on that. How we can reconcile the opposite in our universe, in our life now. So I ask you this question before going to our arrival. So if anyone want to say something about this question, or
you can use the raise your hand function at this point if you want to share your thoughts.
Yeah. How can we create more symphonicity between us? How we can be in a team, an heroic team on Earth, and not divided team. Yes.
I think.
Excuse me. Stop seeing the other in our film. We are all one. Okay. Thank you, Edouard. Okay, you can go. Diane. Diane.
Yeah, I think for me, like as an individual, I think for me to think positively and just towards everybody, even if, like you say, you have a dark shadow thought in your head, you just think with yourself, like, no, you stop it. Then you think about everybody else, collective consciousness, and just put out that light, that's inside of you, that's overcoming the darkness. So, or being
So do you say they're working on your own darkness? Is it what you say? Working on your own darkness instead of projecting on the others?
I think every day, everybody has darkness, has shadows, is no matter, because we're human.
Yeah.
So if we can take care of that within us and love people more and sort of that collective consciousness sort of light, just put it out there and positive, like, because we already know that we're entangled and connected.
Yeah.
And that love, that light. So working within yourself and just every day and just projecting that sort of love and positive glow towards everybody, even when you have dark shadow thoughts. Okay. It's very important. Yeah.
Thank you. So working on our own, putting some light on our own shadow. And okay, thank you. And it needs a lot of courage. It needs a lot of courage to embrace our shadow. Thank you. Putting some shadow and light. Yes, there's a raise, Tyler, I think. Yeah. How your microphone is not working. Okay, hi.
Technology.
Yeah, the dark side.
The dark side, which I embrace.
Yeah.
Carefully.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm thoroughly enjoying this. Your presentation and articulation of all this. So what occurs to me is that yin yang symbol, which literally translates to light dark. And then you talked about the space between earlier, and I quickly had looked up the yin yang symbol, and I think it does reference, the line that divides the light and dark in the symbol. And so residing in that sort of neutral space between, going back to that, I do that in myself as a daily practice. And it also relates to the light particles or photons, because I draw photons down through my crown and I send it through my body and ground it into the earth. This is a very old practice. I didn't make this up. And then I bring the energy from the earth back up and send it out my crown, and I just keep doing this.
Okay.
And one of my mentors calls this the big scrub down. And so if I feel like I'm in a dissonant situation or encounter with anything, with nature, with people, with myself, with grappling with an issue, I immediately ground myself, and I can feel roots coming out my feet. I can sense that on an imaginal and somewhat physical level. And then I do this light channeling thing, and I go inside, and I know that all these archetypes reside in my psyche, you know, in this, you know, my psyche being me on earth in 3D as a spirit.
Okay.
And so if I just go within when this seeming conflict happens, I'm consciously grounding, sending light, and just sort of letting the light be a salve that's both comforting and is also dissolving whatever this kink or complex or constellation is in the pattern.
Okay.
So that's what I do.
I don't know how, I don't know why, but I hear the word grounding light in what you said. I don't know what's the meaning of that, but
Yeah.
how to grounding light. And in English,
And
you
neutral.
have, yeah.
Sorry.
In English, you have a nice word, because light in English, it means not, something light is not something grave, you know? In French, we have two words for grave and léger, léger and grave. And you, in English, you have light to something not heavy. Yeah, something is light is not heavy. So that's nice, nice playing with the light and the gravity of the light and embodied. Okay.
I like that. And getting myself into a state of neutrality and remembering that space between.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, that's really the ticket.
And so you are making a space between the light and the art, and maybe the also on that side, you know, the up and down, and so the pivotal point, that's the center.
Yeah, and it's space. It's like the eye of the hurricane where it's calm. You know.
Yeah.
It's like space. Everybody's talking now about spaciousness and
nice
stuff.
Finding the eye of the hurricane, the psyche. Nice idea. Thank you. Not
that's
the eye.
Good, oh man, that's a great connection.
Oh, thank you. Good. That's
you.
what I love, playing with ideas. I'm not an English, and so that's what I love. Other ideas before going into the arrival universe? So we can go into the arrival universe. So let's use our QQ, PP, CCN, or other archetype tool. Is everyone have seen the movie Arrival? Okay, I will show a picture of what we can say about Arrival. For giving a little resume, first is a movie by Denis Villeneuve. It was shot in Quebec, near here. And it's a story about, imagine that your ancestor of the future can bring you a gift. So imagine that we have ancestor, not only in the past, but we have ancestor in the future, and he can give you a gift. So 12 eye, it's like a lens, talking about the eye, it's like a lantern, what's the name in English? Anyway, so they came from the future to give us a gift. But we can see this gift as a gift of arrival, or we can see this as a gift of arrival too. because like the COVID that touch our planet, when you encounter something that you understand, you can make a lot of theory about that. And so what's interesting about that movie is that you look at something unexpected in your life and you project all things. So for some, they want to kill us, and they give us a tool that is like an arm. That's because the language, you have seen, the tool they give to us is a new language. And in that movie, you learn this is the language of those energy. Words open time. So when you talk, so that can be a question quest or a quantum question, how your language determine the world or the universe you are living in. So that can be a question. And a prime principle when we dig into that movie is language open time. And it's very related to what's the philosopher who said that your language defined the world. I don't remember the name of this philosopher, but there's a philosopher who said that your language defined your world. So returning with the question, why are they here? So when you encounter something new, you always ask this question, why this happened to me? Why they are here? So remember that we have one eye that shoot light or project light, and we have another eye that catch light, so we can be receptive to this new language. And in Arrival, that's a good illustration of an encounter that gives you a gift of a new language. And in synchronicity, when you encounter a very profound, deep synchronicity, your language change. Your way to see the world change, like changing universe. So in Arrival, they ask this question, but not why are they here? Why we are here too? And that asks the question to ourselves too, because it can be asked to us. And so this movie is very interesting because it helps us talking about the honey, what the honey we can have with this movie. It's to be curious of new language. And our new language, we need new language. This is a language, this is a circular language. I said before that a game is a universe is a game created by two starting points, but we can see two starting points in circle too. And when you open those starting point, you create a universe. Words open time. This movie is very powerful for a lot of reasons. If you have a chance to see this movie, is very, very deep in a lot of ways. Related to the psychological dimension, it raised something fundamental also in our society, is how do we deal with the child that we will have in the future? How do we deal with the future? How do we deal with the person that will succeed us? And so for some people in that movie, for some people, we must kill them. We must kill the people that came from the future because we are afraid and we have to kill them. And that is very related to what we say with Palpatine, for example. Palpatine who don't accept change, who's fear of change. And particularly the change that came from the future. And that leads us to a woman very important in psychology. She's hidden between Jung and Freud. I don't know if you know that woman. Sabina Spielrein. Sabina Spielrein as one of the most texts, very important texts about the libido, how the energy of the libido work, how the desire energy work. And so she created a text called Destruction as the Cause of Coming into Being. And his idea is in some way related to the movie Arrival, is the energy that we have inside of us that make us being able to create life or to create something new. We also have inside of us the energy to destroy that too. Because, and it can raise some anxiety in our psyche, because when you give life, you are confronted with your own death. And Sabina Spielrein inspired Freud on the Thanatos energy, the energy of death. But Freud didn't mention that what it was from Sabina Spielrein. So unfortunately, she was not recognized at his own value. But she is at the root of that aspect of libido. And this aspect of libido is very tricky, because why we don't work more for our children in the future, in our heart? Why we are not preoccupied by our children in the future, and we are only preoccupied with our own comfort? And why ecology don't spend energy into the future? And for Sabina Spielrein, it's because of that. We are in some way in competition with the future. So the future is in competition with us. His idea is very revolutionary, because at that time, the rival for Freud, the rival is the father or the mother. But then she came with, your rival is in front of you and in the future. So you are afraid of him and you don't spend much energy in the future. So it's an interpretation, how we react on something that came from the future, like an arrival. And we react by the fear, and we want to destroy something that want to give a gift to us. So that's the point of view that I wanted to express into that, because we are in the energy of I think one of the challenge of our time is to reconciliate the opposite, but one of the challenge of our time is to synchronize the desire energy. To synchronize the desire energy in what I call synphonicity, but also to synchronize the energy to get past the fear of the future. Before 2000, we were dreaming of the future. And after 2000, we are afraid of the future. Why? So we have to work hard. We have to work hard to synchronize the energy of our desire for the future, for our children, for our planet. And this is expressed very well in the last movie, the secret movie I wanted to present to you, Dune, by Denis Villeneuve. And so this is finally the secret movie. I must admit that I didn't have the chance to see the movie. in our screen, it will get out on 2022. So I will not be able to talk about this movie, but I want to use my QQPP CNR and to open question about that. And I want to open that. So is it, well, I've seen Dune? Is someone here? Have you seen the new movie, the Denis Villeneuve, Dune? Okay, well, so it's okay. So I will talk maybe a little more on the 24th when we have a collective. But I suggest you to see this movie, because Denis Villeneuve point out the Dune planet. There's no water on that planet, and so if we don't synchronize our desire together, in our future we will live in a planet that will not have water. So that's one of the question of Dune: how we will keep the water alive on the planet in the future. So it's a very important question asked by Denis Villeneuve in that movie. And what I've learned recently is that Dune was written by Frank Herbert. And Frank Herbert was a Jungian analyst. I didn't know that. So I will not go into too much into that, but I will invite you free since now, or if you want. So when you look at a movie, try to do the QQ, PP, CC, and or detector to look at the movie. I want to finish this event not with a movie, but with a game. I want to do a game with you. And we can play if you want, and if you don't, that's okay. So I invite you. This is what I call, she called Hela. She's a representation of, for me, it's a representation of Ishtar, the deess Ishtar. And she's in Tekwendonde, near my house here. With the Tekwendonde, as I said, it's the place with the other side of the mountain. I invite you, I propose you to play a game now and to imagine that you have access. You have access to the wisdom of that woman that live in 250. And she will bring ideas into the present. So what will be for you the most important question of 2050? What will be the most important primordial principle in our universe, in your heart, in 250? What will be the more important creative challenge in 250? And what will be the most important language or the most important reward or goal or anything you want that we can dig into 250? So I open the game here. I have created also a website called the Hilbert Hotel, and at the Hilbert Hotel also we receive people. We sometimes we receive archetype. We have received the moon, and we have received the heart. And Patricia is here today. She has played the heart. So it's a kind of Hilbert Hotel is kind of a psychological game where we are an hotel outside of space-time, and we have this kind of invitee. Like this woman came from 250, and they give us treasure. So I finish my talk with that. So imagine that you are able to connect with someone in 250. What will be the most important question, the most important principle, challenge, and goal? So I open the space for if you want to play or not, and I open the space also for a question about my presentation. How is life defined? Thank you, Joan. So imagine that this Ela, Ishtar, the deity, how is life defined in 250? Thank you. Other people want to share what they feel. Yeah.
One from Taylor that came just before the 2050, which is how do we keep emotions and relational dynamics given automation, technology, and mechanization? Which is something that we also found in Star Wars with Darth Vader becoming a robot.
Thank you, Taylor. And so you will have this chat. That's why I wanted to send you a photo into that chat, so we can use that question in the future. So don't be shy to send anything into that chat. I will keep this chat room to inspire us to have more desire to go to 250, because now who want to go to 250? We are afraid of the future. So I want to create some hope with that. So what will be the most important question, principle, challenge? Or maybe the or aspect or the goal aspect. What will be the most enjoyable things to do in 250? What you will love to do most in 250? Fly. Cool. Yes, we want to fly. Great. Is the Earth still habitable in 250? Good question. Allow the unmanifest to resolve through creative consciousness. Oh, like the B we said, huh? The unmanifest and invisible to consciousness. Great. Stop Earth, Mother Earth, so our children can live and love. Maybe we can change, and maybe we can see that Earth is not our mother, but maybe Earth is our children. Maybe in 250 we will see our planet as a child, not as a mother, or both of them. What can change if we see the planet as a little child instead of mother that gives something to us? In old tradition, in my ancestor, in Algonquin, the first part of the life was you receive, and in the second part, you give. So are we still in a space or in a transition to still want to have something from the heart? Or we are entering an age where we must give something to heart, like it's a child. We were able to live on Mars as well, going in the solar system. That's raised a good question. Going to Mars, if you want to see a nice movie about traveling to Mars, the brother of Denis Villeneuve, it's called Martin Villeneuve. He created a movie called Mars in April. And it's about traveling to Mars, but in a very archetypal way. Like what I want to do with this talks is to reinvent the ideas of traveling. Maybe for the consciousness in 250, we will learn a new way to travel. I like to transpose. In the entanglement process, there's not the particle that travel. It's the propriety of the particle that untangle. So maybe we'll discover more about the entanglement processes, and particularly is linked with synchronicity. Albertina, want to say something? Hi, Albertina. I see your gold end. Hi, Albertina. I can hear you.
Still muted, Albertina.
Maybe we can try to talk with signs.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Can you see me?
Yeah, and hear you too.
Yeah, because I can't see myself. So while you are dealing with this as fiction, for example, Elon Musk sold his $1 million home and is living in a 400 square foot prefabricated house in Texas. I hope you know that, because he wants to devote all his life for building a place in Mars. And you know that Jeff Bezos has the same vibration. And I watched the keynote about a guy, and I found that very surprising, because he's a geologist, and now he's studying he's also an astronomer.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's dealing with he wrote a book even about leisure time in other planets. And it's just amazing all you can do. I dream of honeymooning in the rings of Saturn, for example, and Venus and so on. And then all this might be reality in 2050 and beyond.
And that's interesting about the desire going to Mars. What is the archetype behind this? What is the energy that want to push us going to Mars and to Venus? And it's interesting to look at what drive us going into the outside planet. And I hope that we will learn new way to travel too, and not only travel with a lot of fuel because it's very polluted. The rockets are very polluted. So I hope that if we want to go to Mars and Venus, we will learn new way to go there and not as polluted, maybe. But that's interesting to retrieve the dream to go on the other planet. That was the dream of Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan was a very passionate man and very inspiring. And it's a Voyager. So the idea of exploring space, that's interesting. But maybe we will learn new way to travel, I hope. But
Carl Sagan said that being an astronomer makes us humble, because we think from space, we are just a speck of dust. And you see, in the United States, $800 billion are spent in war. And the money spent for research going outside our planet is just a little bit of money. And see, I'm a postdoctoral researcher in sustainable architect and urban design. And then I find this very curious, because while all my models are based just in synchrony of how life evolved on Earth, it's all generated by computer, and the geometry is inspired by the symmetry groups of the plane and the dotless plane. So the similarity groups are fractals, and I would apply it to urban design. And then what happens? Out of the blue, I'm challenged by a guy like Elon Musk. And curiously, I do agree with him, starting by the need to, because he's catching exactly the principle of the plants on a desert. On a desert, a plant does not secrete inhibiting hormones, inhibiting other plants to grow around, because the goal of the desert is to populate the desert. And it seems on Earth, see, billions live in slums. We just forget about them, right? If you would, we would focus on the need of the plants on the desert. And this is what Elon Musk is just touching the nerve. His idea is that doing this, we will review ways of making creating new materials, and probably we'll have the solution for the mass housing on Earth. And I want to add something else. You see, the cities, as we see nowadays, was just triggered off by the making of concrete. Without cement and concrete, nothing would be like that. We would be castles and people in rotten conditions of life. So he's right.
I dream of building big Symphonicity. You raise a great question. How will construct city in the future? How will we connect people in the future? And traveling into space remind me that one of the most difficult planets to travel is the planet of your brother or your sisters and this is all about returning to Star Wars. Traveling in the space between us is very difficult. I think if we want to go to the stars, to Mars and to Venus, we will have also to learn to travel in the relation very close to us. And that's a challenge. And for me, it's also the challenge of an ecology. An ecology is the taking care of the space between us, close. So if we are exploring the archetype of space, what is space? And how we deal with the space between us, how we can vibrate the space between us, how we can learn more to respect the space between us. Maybe we'll have a more ecological because it will be close. I see a hand by Bernard. Bernard. Oh, I don't hear you, Bernard. Can you? Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Bernard. Welcome.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I wanted to, I mean, obviously your talk has mainly focused on Star Wars, but you have also referred to various other sci-fi movies, such as Dune and Arrival and Interstellar and things like that. One thing you didn't mention, but which I have to mention, is Star Trek. Well, I'm a great fan
yeah.
of Star Trek.
I wanted,
it's especially topical because I'm sure you know on Tuesday, Captain Kirk, William Shatner, actually gets launched into space.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Transferring the sort of the fiction into the fact. But I wanted to ask, to what extent is your message of relevance to all sci-fi movies, especially those involving sort of going into space? And to what extent is it actually specific to Star Wars? Could you have given a similar talk about any of these other movies, or is there something really special about Star Wars that singles it out?
I think it has to do with sensibility. My sensibility vibrates more with this universe. But what I wanted to do with the creation of the QQ, CCNR is to apply that to a lot of movies, not only the sci-fi movie I have mentioned. So what my interest is, I use Star Wars as an example to dig into the flowers of archetype, but it's not only on Star Wars, as you know. So let's explore that on the Star Trek. What are the most important in the Star Trek universe? What are the quantum question? What the question are raised by Star Trek? What are the more primary principle of Star Trek? We were talking about Elon Musk. We are talking about Tesla, but what I love in Star Trek, it's a team. It's the idea of an enterprise, how we see the enterprise of the future. It's not only for the money. So what's in the enterprise energy that help us to go into the space, but not only in a mercantile way, but also to be an enterprise, but an enterprise devoted to life. So I invite you to apply this question to this universe. But first, but the ideas that came to me is that for me, Star Trek inspire us to create not only company with money objective, but company that has life and discovering the other and the other form of life also as a motif, as an enterprise.
And to boldly go where no man has gone before.
And no woman too.
Or woman, yeah.
Or maybe going into no man's have gone, but a lot of women have gone. Thank you, Bernard.
Just wanted to jump in here and sort of build on this conversation because, you know, Jean-Francois, you mentioned Joseph Campbell a few times during your presentation, and he obviously deals a lot with mythologies, and Star Wars he regarded as one of the modern mythologies. So I think the sensibility that you're referring to, Jean-Francois, is more about looking at what today we regard as these mythologies. Like currently, I would argue maybe the Marvel universe, you know, the Captain America, Iron Man, all of those have built their own universe, their own mythology in that. Or, you know, back in here in England, we have, you know, Doctor Who, for example, could be regarded as one of those great. Some people even call it religion. I'm one of those, but but you know, I'm sure there is in all these films or different media stories that there is something that these new mythologies that tell us something about today's society. And definitely Star Wars was there in the 70s and then carried on. Marvel started off in the 2000s and is still going. There's something about stories, films that do reflect this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the idea working with the archetype, it's the idea of a translation. It's not about finding a Jungian interpretation. It's about how we can translate the language of the universe of Doctor Who in my own universe. How I can translate the language of Tenet, like we have done together. how we can translate the language of the world internet into in our own way. So it's all about translating the archetype language into the everyday language. And that's my goal. That's what I want to do. And that's what I want to do also with the synchronicity. When you encounter synchronicity, just recently, I was writing a foreword for a book on chance by a man, a very well-known man here in Quebec. So he was talking about the movie Catch Me If You Can. The movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. So I was reading this, and that movie was shot in Quebec City instead of France. And when I was writing the foreword of that book, at the same time, I have a friend of mine who sent me a video because she lived in another place in Quebec, and she sent me a video of the exact door when Tom Hanks catch Leonardo DiCaprio. So how you do? So this is symbolic life. So yeah, there's archetype that sometimes arise in screen and encounter in everyday life. And my goal is to raise the level of conversation beyond the stereotype level between good and bad, and go into the archetype level. And on the archetype level, all the opposite can meet. So that's what I wish. And thank you, Paris Center, for giving me this occasion. I don't do that in French. I don't know. I have difficulty to talk in French. I don't have, anyway. So thank you very, very much, Paris Center, to help me bring this archetypal play with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jean-Francois, for bringing this whole new dimension to this series. It's really been really engaging, and I love the format that you use of interaction and play, which I know play is a big part of your ideas and, well, in your life, play and love. So thank you really so much for today. And I do have questions that maybe we can discuss at a later stage, or maybe at the final session, or even on Sutra. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we should close. So yeah, thank you all so much, Jean-Francois. Thank you all for joining us, everyone. Thank you all so much for playing with us as well and contributing to the chat. It's really been a fantastic session. So yes, and I hope to see you all next week now, where on Saturday we will have Ruth Kastner, who will discuss discovering multiple possibilities in quantum theory. And on Sunday we'll have Tim Maudlin on quantum mechanics, the actual world, and other possibilities. So we're going back to the physics next weekend. Yes, as always, you can contact us for any questions, problems, or anything on our website or on social media or via email at james@personcenter.com to contact me, or Eleanor@personcenter.com to contact Eleanor. Thank you all again for joining us. Thank you again so much, Jean-Francois, and we'll see you again soon here at the Paris Center.
May the force be with us. Bye-bye.
May the force be with us.
Bye-bye.